At my birthday, in a room full of friends and family, she raised her glass, looked across the table, and said the words that shattered me in one strike. To the man who truly understands me. Now, if she had been looking at me when she said it, I'd be telling you a very different story right now, but she wasn't. She wasn't looking at me. Her husband, the man who thought he'd built a life with her, who thought he knew every laugh, every tear, every secret. No, her eyes slid past me. Her smile was pointed somewhere else, subtle but unmistakable. And I swear to you, in that instant, my world stopped turning. I remember the way the clinking glasses around the table rang out like a cruel soundtrack. Everyone laughed, cheered, raised their drinks. Nobody else noticed the way she lingered with her gaze. Nobody else saw the quiet intimacy in the way her lips curled when she locked eyes with him. But I did. I noted. Because when you've lived with someone long enough, when you've memorized the way they breathe, you know when the words aren't meant for you. My stomach dropped. My palms went sweaty. I plastered on a smile because what else could I do? It was my birthday. The cake was waiting in the kitchen. My parents, her parents, our friends, all of them were there watching, waiting to celebrate. And in the middle of it all, my wife stood and toasted another man as the one who truly understood her. Do you know what that feels like? It feels like drowning in plain sight. Everyone around you is clapping and laughing, and you're sitting there gasping for air, choking on the betrayal while smiling for the cameras. The man she looked at, let's call him Daniel, was sitting 2 seats down. He was her co-worker, the one she always talked about casually, the one she said was so funny or such a good friend. I'd heard his name too many times not to notice. But I never thought it was like that, until that moment, when her glass tipped in his direction, when his eyes met hers and he gave her that tiny knowing smile that no one else picked up on. I knew. They thought they were clever. They thought no one would notice. But I did. I noticed everything. And yet I didn't flip the table. I didn't shout. I didn't demand she splay herself in front of everyone. Instead, I raised my own glass, forced a laugh out of my throat and said, "To all of us, thanks for being here." My voice sounded steady, but inside I was cracking like glass under pressure. She sat down, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Happy birthday, baby," like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just ripped the ground out from under me. And that kiss burned, not because of the gesture, but because I could still see her eyes, her smile directed at him instead of me. The rest of the night was a blur. People sang, the cake came out, candles glowed, and I made a wish that I didn't believe in anymore. She laughed and posed for pictures, her arm wrapped around me, her hand resting on my chest like she owned me. But every time I blinked, I saw her standing there with that glass raised, declaring her heart in front of everyone, daring me to catch it. After everyone left, after the dishes were piled in the sink, and the wine glasses were empty, I sat alone in the living room, the taste of betrayal bitter on my tongue. She was upstairs changing, humming softly, like nothing had happened. And I thought to myself, what do you do when the person who's supposed to be yours tells the world they belong to someone else? That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathe beside me, and every inhale felt like a laugh. I replayed the moment over and over, the way her voice had carried, the way his smile had flickered, the way the world had gone on celebrating while I silently died in. The next morning she acted normal, made coffee, kissed me goodbye before work, said she loved me with the same lips that had toasted him, and I played along. I said it back, because the worst thing you can do in the face of betrayal is let the betrayer know you've caught on. So I stayed quiet. I started watching. Every time she picked up her phone, I noted the way her thumbs flew faster than they ever did when she texted me. Every time she said she had to stay late at the office, I remembered the way her eyes had lit up at him. I started checking her location, checking receipts, checking her stories for gaps, and slowly a pattern emerged. Late nights that didn't line up with her workload, restaurant charges at places she never mentioned, perfume that lingered when she came home, not mine, not hers, something foreign. And Daniel's name kept popping up. A casual Daniel said this, or Daniel made me laugh today. Too casual, like she was testing the waters to see if I'd flinch. I didn't. I smiled, nodded, asked questions. Inside I was boiling. The more I dug, the more I realized that birthday toast hadn't been a slip. It had been a declaration. She wasn't careless. She was bold. She wanted to see if I'd notice, if I'd confront her, if I'd finally break. But I didn't, because I had something she didn't. Patience. I started tracking everything. Screenshots of texts she left open for a second too long. Logs of her location when she worked late. Credit card statements. Even photos I followed her one night. Parked far enough back, not to be noticed. And there they were, her and Daniel, laughing, leaning across the table. His hand brushing hers, and her not pulling away. I sat in my car gripping the steering wheel, nails digging into the leather, and I told myself, not yet. Don't blow it yet. Because I knew when I confronted her, it couldn't be in anger. It couldn't be in private. If I confronted her in private, she'd cry, she'd beg, she'd twist it until somehow I was the villain. No, when the time came, it had to be undeniable, inescapable. So I waited. Days turned into weeks, and every lie she told, every glance she shared with Daniel at social gatherings, every late night she brushed off with a tired smile. I stored it all. I built my case. And all the while she thought she was safe. She thought her little toast had gone unnoticed, that her secret smiles and hidden touches were invisible. But they weren't. Because at my birthday, when she raised her glass and said to the man who truly understands me, she thought she was clever. She thought she was but what she really did was give me the key to the truth. And I was going to use it. That was the moment I stopped being her husband. That was the moment I became her shadow, her witness, her reckoning. And if she thought that birthday toast was bold, she had no idea what bold really looked like. After that birthday toast, my life split into two parts. There was the surface life, the one where I smiled, went to work, kissed her goodbye, showed up to dinners, and pretended everything was fine. And then there was the shadow life, the one where I tracked, recorded, gathered, and watched. She thought I was distracted, predictable, maybe even too naive to notice. But the truth was, every breath she took, every step she made toward him, I document. And the longer I stayed silent, the more careless she became. That's how betrayal works. At first it's cautious, hidden in shadows, and whispers. But when they think they've fooled you, they get bold, they take risks. They start to believe they're untouchable. That toast at my birthday was her announcing her victory, without even realizing it. She thought she had won, but I was patient. And patience is the deadliest weapon. 2 weeks after my birthday, she told me she was heading to a team dinner. I kissed her cheek, told her to have fun, then got into my car 10 minutes later and followed at a distance. My chest thudded with that familiar cocktail of dread and anger, but I kept my head clear. Sure enough, she didn't go to the office. She didn't go anywhere near a group dinner. She drove across town to a small, expensive restaurant, the kind with dim lights and corner booths. I parked across the street, heart pounding, and watched as she walked in wearing a dress she hadn't worn in years. And then he showed up. Daniel. The man who understood her. They didn't even try to hide it. When he greeted her, his hand slid to the small of her back like it belonged there. She leaned into him like she'd been doing it for months. My stomach churned, my fists clenched, but I didn't move. I pulled out my phone, snapped a picture, and whispered to myself, "Got you." They sat close together, heads bent over the table, laughing like they were in their own private world. At one point he reached across and tucked her hair behind her ear, and I thought my chest would cave in. That little gesture, the kind of intimacy that's supposed to be mine, was enough to make me want to storm inside. But instead I took another photo. Evidence. Always evidence. She came home late that night, smelling faintly of wine and perfume. She slipped into bed beside me, kissed my shoulder, and whispered, "It was such a long dinner, I'm exhausted." And I whispered back, "I bet you are." She didn't even notice the edge in my voice. She thought she was still in control. But she was. The more evidence I gathered, the more I realized confronting her in private would be a mistake. If I cornered her alone, she'd cry, beg, twist the story, make me question myself. But if I exposed her publicly, with proof so heavy it crushed her lies before they left her lips, there would be no escape. And I knew exactly when I'd do it. Her parents' anniversary was coming up. Big event, family, friends, even co-workers invited. She begged me to come, said it would mean a lot to her family if we showed up together. I smiled, kissed her forehead and said, "Of course, The night of the anniversary, I wore my best suit. She clung to my arm, glowing, laughing, introducing me to people like we were the picture of happiness. I played along, every step rehearsed. But inside I felt the envelope pressing against my jacket pocket. Inside, photos, receipts, credit card statements, screenshots of her location. The truth, collected and undeniable. Dinner was lavish, wine flowing, laughter echoing off the walls. Her father stood at the head of the table, glass raised, and toasted to love, loyalty, and the strength of marriage. The irony nearly made me choke. When the room quieted, people started clinking glasses, calling for more toasts. That was my moment. I stood. The scrape of my chair silenced the room. She looked up at me, her smile faltering, her eyes flicking to the envelope in my hand. She knew, maybe not everything, but enough to feel the ground shift under her feet. "Don't," she whispered, her voice sharp, panicked. But it was too late. "To love," I began, my voice calm but carrying. "To loyalty, to marriage." We raise our glasses to these things because they're the foundation of everything we hold dear. But what happens when that foundation is cracked? What happens when one person decides love and loyalty don't matter anymore? Murmurs rippled around the room. Her face went pale, her glass trembling in her hand. I opened the envelope and laid the first photo on the table. Her, with Daniel, his hand on her back, as they walked into the restaurant. Gasps filled the air. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her father's jaw tightened. "This is my wife," I said, my tone sharp, with the man she toasted on my birthday as the one who truly understands her, not at work, not at a team dinner, at a restaurant, together, alone. I laid down the next photo, and the next, her laughing at dinner. Her car parked outside his apartment, at midnight, her sitting across from him, their hands almost touching. With each photo the whispers grew louder, the shock spreading across the room. She shot to her feet, tears spilling, words tumbling out. "It's not what it looks like. He's just a friend. Just a friend." I cut her off, my voice rising for the first time. "Then why do you meet him at hotels? Why do you toast him at my birthday? Why do you lie about late nights at work when I can see exactly where you are?" Her father slammed his fist on the table, face red with fury. Her mother sobbed openly. Daniel, sitting near the back of the room, tried to shrink into his chair, his face pale. I gathered the photos, slid them back into the envelope, and looked her in the eye. I wanted everyone to see the truth, because I'm done living a lie, and I walked out. The chaos behind me was deafening. Shouts, cries, whispers, chairs scraping against the floor. But I didn't look back. I walked into the night with my head high, the envelope tucked against my chest like a shield. She chased me outside, mascara streaking, her voice shrill and broken. "Please, don't do this. We can fix it. I'll end it with him. I swear." She grabbed my arm, sobbing. "I love you, please. Don't throw everything away." I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in years, I saw her clearly, not as my wife, not as my partner, as a stranger who had stood in a room full of people, and toasted another man as the one who truly understood her. "You threw it away the second you raised that glass," I said quietly. Then I pulled free and walked away. The aftermath was brutal. She called for weeks, messages swinging from rage to desperation. One minute it was, "You humiliated me in front of everyone." The next it was, "Please, I'll do anything, just take me back." I ignored them all. Her family cut her off. Daniel vanished, quit his job, deleted his socials, disappeared into the shadow. The man she risked her marriage for didn't even have the courage to stand beside her once the truth came out. And me, I walked out of the wreckage, scarred but free. Even now, months later, I still hear her voice sometimes. To the man who truly understands, it echoes in my head like a ghost. But then I remember standing at that table, laying out the truth, and walking away. And I know I did the right thing, because she thought that toast was bold. She thought she was untouchable. But real boldness was me, standing up in front of everyone, pulling the mask off, and refusing to be her fool any longer. She toasted him, but in the end it was me who got the last word.